Hello YouTube, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in this video we're going to continue from where we left. We had this simple HTTP server that was basically running on port 4000 and it had nothing pointing to it. So the aim of this video is creating an health check endpoint that basically have a router and a handler function that will return our health check for our server. When someone tries to hit it, they receive the version of our server, the health status and the running environment. So let's dive into it. Basically we are going to create a route, you're going to use the HTTP handle func. Basically supply the pattern or the route, so we can say it's version 1 and then say it's health check. So pass in the handler function, so you can come here, call it health check. I don't know why typing gets hard when you're in front of a camera when you are doing a presentation. Okay, so when you try to save this video, this file, you'll see that Go is complaining you don't have the health function. So let's create here a function called health that takes in as an argument a response writer, http dot response writer, and a pointer to our requests. So it will be pointer to http dot requests. So in here we're going to create a variable called status, which is going to be a map. So basically we can say a map of string and string. So in here we can come have like a constant string saying maybe status, then you can have it to be active, comma, and the next line you can say we can have maybe the environment, then you can have can say this will be development environment for now, and you can here have it to say the version. And for version, maybe you can just apply it up here. Come here, create a new variable called version, which equals to 1.0.0. Come here and pass the variable version in the capital P. So we're going to create a JSON file and an error. See, if you have used the Marshall, we're going to encode these status into bytes. We are trying to transform this into JSON, so we're going to use the JSON package, and then in the JSON package we have a function called Marshall, JSON.Marshall. So in here it's going to take the status, and what JSON.Marshall does, it returns bytes of the response of whatever you have passed in and an error. So first thing is to check for the error. So if error is not equal to nil, we can do error. I can do a log dot fatal, and then we return the error. Else we can take the variable that we have returned into with the bytes, and we can append to it maybe a new line for easy visibility on the terminal. So we can say new, and then we're going to write the headers and set it to application JSON. So header.write then we want to we're going to set the headers. So dot header dot set, we want to set it into no application slash JSON. Here we have to pass the content type. My bad. We can do this. I need a comma here, so we have to say content type to application JSON, and now we can write the response. So we can write it there, and basically we have here we're missing a comma. And basically we have our server up and running with the JSON with the health check endpoint. We have to check this error in here, I forgot. So error equals to, then we can say if error is not equal to nil, we can do a log dot fatal, and then just return the error for now. Okay, what's the issue here? Oh, okay, didn't see this. Oh, maybe let me try to make this opaque and have the background that way, so it can be visible to see most of these things. And if we save, what's the issue? W dot don't want this one, new variable the left of. Okay, so this is confusing. Okay, now we are good to go. It was some simple errors here and there, so maybe we can stop this running server and try now to run it again. So when you try to access now our endpoint, still there is nothing pointing to the home route, but now when we go to version 1 slash health check, we're going to get this one, and this is because I do not have the prettier version of JSON. We can try to test it using curl, maybe in a new terminal. Let me open a new terminal and we can just test this one using curl. So we can do curl http version 1, and let's see, we have this. Let's pass it to maybe to JQ. See, so you can see it's JSON, but there's a simple trick if you want to pass this one to see it in a nicer way. Clear. If you want to see this in a nicer way, instead of doing all things, you can come here and do a marshal indent. You can change this to marshal indent. So you can say marshal indent, then marshal indent takes some strings and the spacer. Basically we're going to use tabs for this. Then you're going to save. Now restarting your server, coming back, when you try to just curl this one, it will return for you something nice. And in the meantime, you can install the JSON prettier or JSON formatter extension for Chrome. Come here. If you want to see your APIs looking good, so you can add extension by clicking on extensions. Let's see, so it's already added. Now we can try and view our Okay, our endpoint is looking good. So at least now we have something running, but this code looks messy. We can try now add some features like a logger. So when we start this server, we can have maybe a logger running here telling us we have started the server on this port, and yeah, basically, and even make this dynamic, like the development environment. The environment, we can make it dynamic, so that when users maybe they want to run it in production or staging, they can just set it on the run, and also pass this dynamically. Maybe port 4000 may be used in your computer right now or in the future, and you want to pass it as port 80 or port any other port. You can make this dynamic also instead of hard coding. So with that, you can come here, you can create maybe a type which will be a struct called you can call it config or configurations. Then we can say it's a struct. So configs, you can take our environment, which will be a string, and we're going to take the port. Port basically will be an integer. So we can create another one for the application that will contain all the handlers for all the dependencies for our handlers and routes and everything that's basically in /API, the /API route, or the folder, the package, the main package. So we can create it. It's just a type. Can call it application, which will be a struct, and in here we can have, maybe it can take the config through embedding, and then say it's of type config, and we're going to create a logger, which will be a pointer to log.logger. Okay, now we can come in here and now create a new variable. Can call it config, which will be of type config, and we can use the flag package now to make our content dynamic, the environment and the port. So we can come here and say int var for the port, and for the flag it takes a pointer to a pointer, and then it takes the name. You can say it's port, and the default value, it will say it's 4000. If not specified, it will just fall back to 4000, and the usage will say I'll say API server port. So we can come here, create another one, flag for a string variable, and then in here we can point it to cfg.env, and then the name will be environment, the fallback will be dev, and the usage, you can say the server environment, and you can specify here we have maybe dev, or it can be staging, or it can be production. So we have to pass this the flag pass. Basically this is done after declaring this. You have to do the flag.pass. So we can create a logger, maybe logger, which will be a log.new. So for this it takes a standard output, so we can say os.std, or you can check it. It takes an IO writer, prefix, and a flag. So .new, then we can come here, say os. I'm going to use the os one, os.std out. If you know these, std out, std in, and std error. So for now we do not need a prefix. and here we're going to use log dot ldate. We want it to show the date and the time, so log dot l time. Nice, that's looking good. So in here we can, maybe we want to pass this now, to take whatever it will be passed here, so it will be dynamic, no like hard coding it. So we can create address, something called address, and then we can come here, say it is going to be fmt dot sprint. We want to convert it from an integer, since it's an integer here, and convert it into a string, so that we can prepend the colon. So in here we can say it's going to take a decimal or an integer, and then have the colon before it. Then here we're going to pass the cfg.port. So we can come here and pass this dynamically to address. Another thing you have noticed here, we are using the default max, so which is nil. The default max is not a good advice for you to use on your server, so we can change that by declaring a new max. So we're going to say max equals to http dot we can say some max can say a new submax. Yes, a new submax. So changing this is quite easy. Just declare that, and instead of using now the http, you can just use the max in there, and yeah, that's pretty it. And return here max. You return here your new multiplexer, so the new max in here. So basically we want now to change this from hard coding it to being dynamic. So for this to happen, we're going now to create the use of this application. So you can come in here and declare a new variable called app. So app is going to point to the application struct application, and then we're going to supply it with the config field to be cfg and the logger to be our logger. So that looks nice. Before starting our server, we can have now the logger that says you've started the server, and say here logger dot print line using our logger now, and then say starting what server at port, then passing the integer. So we can come here, say passing the cfg dot development server at cfg dot port. So that looks nice, and basically we want now to pass this the environment in here. So to achieve that, we have now to change this into a method for the application. So changing that is quite easy. I know you're already familiar with Go, so you can just do it simply by adding this before it. Now this is a method for the Go. Cannot call it class, but it's basically like a class. So in here we can just do app.config.env, and for this to work we have to append here app. So we can test this. Okay, what's the issue with this? Maybe I think I have an issue somewhere. Okay, Okay, let me see what was the issue there. I can say logger dot can have it printf, and then say starting percentage as server on port d. Can here supply cfg.env and cfg.port. Then we can have here a new line, basically have a new line in there. Let's see. Okay, Go is not complaining. You can see I have. Okay, that looks better. We can separate that one in there. So let's try to test if these functionalities that we have added, if they are really working. So we can stop these and now try now to start. I could not connect on port 4000 after 0 seconds. What's the issue? I really don't know what's happening here. So we have our marks, new sub marks. We have this one. It's looking good. Let's see the error. Port 4000. Failed to connect to port 4000. So how are we passing it? The address is taking that, and we are passing it here very well. So let's do this. Okay, there is an issue somewhere. Maybe let's see here. Is it the marks? Let me do this, and then do GCC, and here let's do GCC, and here let's do HTTP, and here return a nil. Maybe it's an issue of the marks. Oh, I did not start the server. My bad. Not started the server. So you're going to do a go run, and you can see our code was correct. The max is running well. I did not start the server, so I was wondering. So we can maybe kill it again, clear this, and then do a go run. So you can see at least now we have a logger telling us that we have it has started on this date at this port, and it's running the dev server at this port. Maybe you can try to change it and see, pass in maybe the port. We want it now to run on port 3000. You can say maybe port equals to 3000, and the env equals to staging. Now you can see it's telling us it's running on the staging the staging environment on port 3000. We can test that if it's running on port 3000. Try to refresh on port 4000. There is nothing, but when we come to port 3000, now we can see it's running on port 3000. Let's return it to the default setting and see if port 3000 will be running. Do that, it's not running. But when we return to port 4000, we have our server. So basically that's it. On the next video, we're going now to create our endpoints for our to-do application. For basically, we're going to create the get method and the the post method. We're going to have the models, its models, and we're going now to restructure our file format, our arrangement. So we're going to move this in a different page. We're going to have the routers in a different page or in a different file, and also we're going to have our routes in a different file, and the internal models that will be communicating to our database in a different file. See you in the next video. Have a nice time. Till then.